ain't right about that. You couldn't get Mother Cecilia to sing Amazing Grace, or His Eyes on a Sparrow, or God Is, or I Won't Complain. You couldn't get nobody to sing it. You chose Diana Ross? Girl. Well, hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share the Facebook, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com for this Hilda hat in black on black. We also have it in white on black, and the cap is adjustable. And if you are not already a part of our book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, woo, let's talk about the Lost Supreme, the life of a dream girl, Florence Ballard. When Flo and Mary returned to Jenkins' apartment, Paul Williams was the only one there. Williams asked them if they knew any songs. Flo began singing Nighttime is the Right Time, and Mary joined in. Pause, hold on, okay? I know this ain't got nothing to do with the Supremes, but hold on. We talking about the Nighttime is the Right Time, okay? And baby, something just in my spirit said, just watch Ray. You know, with Jamie Foxx, he did an astounding job with the movie. Some said, just watch Ray. I said, oh, that goddamn Ray is a nigga. He a whole weasel. Let me Google his birthday. Beady bop, boop, boop, boop. Libra. How many times I got to tell you ninjas that Libra men are weasels, but they get you. In the musical hothouse that was Detroit, when Flo and Mary returned to the Brewster Projects, they were greeted by the sounds of numerous other groups singing on the street corners. Flo and Mary soon recruited another member for the group, Betty McGlowan, who later married after auditioning several other young women who didn't make the grade. McGlowan didn't live in the same neighborhood as Flo and Mary, but had heard through the grapevine that they were looking for singers. A few days later, Paul Williams heard the young Diana Ross singing on some porch steps. As we know, Paul Williams is responsible for bringing Diana Ross to the Primettes. But I don't know why until now I'm absorbing the fact that Paul Williams was an intricate part to Diana Ross's career. And considering all that encompasses Paul Williams' life and death, it makes me feel like, how much did the boss do to try to make sure that Paul Williams was okay? I do recall Paul Williams later on, when he became a Temptation, not being so fond of Diana Ross when the Temptations and the Supremes did shows together. He was irritated with her. Maybe because he felt like, look, don't forget, bitch, I found you. Yeah, you Diana Ross and the Supremes, but mother, I'm Paul Williams, the nigga that heard you singing on the porch and then brung you to Milton Jenkins' house. Y'all know I love the boss. I don't have no problems with her or her daughter, Tracy Ellis Ross, or none of them, none of the Rosses. I'm just saying, I can see why Paul Williams was a little unnerved with Diana after a while. Although Diane lived in the same neighborhood as Flo and Mary, she went to different schools. An interest in fashion design would lead her to Detroit's Cass Technical High School. Her experience with music until that time had not been successful, child, because she went to the music class and was about to get a D. Oh, no, I am Stella. If I can't succeed, I don't want no parts of it. I keep saying this, you know I love the boss. You know I do. But right or wrong, I'm going to say my opinion, all right? And we know if Diana Ross can't get the AA plus, even when she's on her best shiz that day. She don't want no parts of it. Ooh, wait a minute. Now I'm gonna try real hard, but if I still get a D, and I'm like, how the hell you get a D in singing? As long as, like, what is that? If you sound bad, maybe because she was singing through her nose, and the lady kept saying, "Stop singing through your nose." While she never had another singing class, she was, by all accounts, driven to succeed at whatever she did. And as life came into focus, she decided she would succeed at singing. Thus, Florence Ballard founded the Primettes, later renamed the Supremes. Flo would call the creation of the world's most successful female singing group the major achievement of her life. I don't give a hell who you are, who your mammy is, who your pappy is, what your dog name is. I don't give a fuck, okay? But what is the undeniably, undisputed truth is that Florence Ballard, even though they kicked her out of her own group, it's been done before several other times. Look at the Bobby Brown, the New Edition. What's the lady from the TLC? They kicked her out of the damn group. Oh, and the girl from Escape, they done kicked her ass out of the damn group. But what is undeniable is Florence Ballard is the creator of the Supremes. She was older than Mary and Diane and sang with a full, warm, gospel-tinged voice that was stronger than theirs. It was Flo's voice that put us over, Mary said. Every evening after school, we'd be rehearsing, Flo said, not making any money, just rehearsing. The group began to perform at Detroit clubs and cabarets, church recreation rooms, and union halls, singing such standards as There Goes My Baby and Nighttime is the Right Time. Although Flo's strong, deep voice was the dominant one, the lead passed democratically from one girl to the other, depending on who the group decided would be the best in that role for each song. You know what? That never worked. The only time I would say that would work for girls would be In Vogue, okay? People would say Destiny's Child, but it would be obvious that Beyonce would have the most leads. Who else, y'all? Who else had several? I want to say the Pointer Sisters. The Primettes were too young to sing legally in a club that had a liquor license. Betty McGlowan was the old lady of the group at 17. Flo was 15, and Diane and Mary were 14. The teens dressed their age. Diane and her mother made balloon dresses for the group. Their alternate outfits were stretched out red and white sweaters bearing the letter P for Primettes, white pleated skirts, sweat socks, and white gym shoes, which eventually turned gray from wear. What the club owners and church recreation people paid Jenkins is lost in the midst of rock and roll history. But considering the venues the groups played, it's unlikely he made much, if anything, on them. In the midst of this exciting time for Flo, tragedy struck. Her beloved father, Jesse Ballard, died in 1959 from cancer at age 44. It was a major blow to young Flo. Diana Ross sang at his funeral, Flo recalled. What? Something ain't right about that. You couldn't get Mother Cecilia to sing Amazing Grace, or His Eyes on a Sparrow, or God Is, or I Won't Complain? You couldn't get nobody to sing it? You chose Diana Ross? Girl, I don't know about that, Flo. I'm looking at you sideways, girl. It's got to be some kind of something going on behind that one, girl. And she said that was the last funeral she would ever sing at because it shook her up too much. I mean, okay, okay, but damn. Maybe, I don't know. Miss Lurlee ain't say nothing. Miss Lurlee wasn't like, girl, Diane? I don't know about Diane. Sister Patterson available. With the insurance and Social Security money the family received as a result of her husband's death, Flo's mother moved them out of the Brewster Projects in late 1960s into a single-family house on Spokane near Grand River in a residential section of Detroit. Despite her sadness, Flo's obsession with singing never faltered. As Flo became better known in the neighborhood for singing, she acquired her first boyfriend, an aspiring musician named Jesse Greer. Jesse had founded another singing group, the Peppermints, which was featured at Detroit's Flame Bar and the 20 Grand Lounge. Flo would show her devotion to Jesse by watching his group perform, and Jesse reciprocated by going to watch the Primettes' rehearsals. He immediately noticed two weaknesses in the group. He felt that Diane sang through her nose and told her not to, and he told Mary to project her voice more. Jesse also noted that Flo was not only the group's natural leader, but also the best singer of the four. He shared with the girls his opinion that if Flo sang more leads, the group would make it to the big time. Eventually, however, Flo and Jesse Greer drifted apart. After 2 years of singing locally, the Primettes began to tire of performing for next to nothing and going nowhere. They wanted to make a record. They wanted fame, and cutting a record was the only way to become big-time singers. As Mary put it, no records, no career. They kept asking Jenkins to hook them up with a recording company, but he couldn't or wouldn't. All Jenkins seemed to be able to do was get local gigs. Then in the summer of 1960, someone who knew someone saw the Primettes singing in a church recreation room and told Motown Records they looked promising. Motown songwriter Richard Morse asked them into audition. Motown Record Company would soon alter American music and American attitudes permanently. It was the linchpin in the successful struggle launched by black musicians and black music executives to stop whites from stuffing their pockets with the millions of dollars that resulted from the sales of tunes written, sung, and often produced by blacks. Motown was founded by Berry Gordy. So we know that every Motown book we read focuses on Berry Gordy and his family history. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go into that. If you guys want to know what it was, you go on back to Call Her Miss Ross, that book, or the Mary Wilson book, because in this book I want to focus primarily on Flo. Noting the growing music scene in Detroit, which had already swept up Flo, Ballard, and her friends, Gordy started writing songs for Jackie Wilson, who had started to sing commercially. Gordy had established himself as a songwriter, but he hadn't yet achieved fame and fortune. Gordy moved the relatives who were willing to work for him, plus a handful of other young Detroiters he had recruited with promises and very small salaries into a collection of seedy brick houses with front porches and shingled walls on a heavily traveled street in central Detroit. By 1959, it was a slightly run-down middle-class area near General Motors headquarters in Detroit. Keenly aware of both his small budget and his talent for producing popular records, Gordy decided that the only way his small company would succeed before it ran out of money was to produce only hits. And by hits, Gordy didn't mean top 100. He meant top 10, and not on the rhythm and blues chart. Florence remarked that by 1960, she had heard a little bit about Motown and Berry Gordy. Someone, it may have been Diane's father. It was Diane's father. I forgot what book we read, but it was Diane's father who said, "Watch that nigga." What Mr. Ross may have heard was that Mary Wells and other artists were already criticizing Gordy for allegedly cheating them out of their royalties. Nonetheless, in the summer of 1960, Florence Ballard and her 3 friends took a bus over to West Grand Boulevard that served as Motown's headquarters, recording station, and offices, and auditioned for Richard Morris, Motown producer Robert Bateman, and Gordy himself. According to various observers, Diane's lead vocal was unimpressive. Flo whispered to Mary about Motown's shady reputation, and Mary stayed silent except when singing. Yeah, we remember that to be true. That was confirmed. Gordy's reaction, Flo said, was, "We can't give you a recording contract now. Come back after you finish high school." But Flo had said that that's bullshit, because when we signed to Motown, we were still in high school, and she recognized other groups who were still young when they were making records for Berry Gordy. So Flo was like, "Is this ninja playing games?" Answer, yes. That's how Berry Gordy do. Berry bed bug bite gas light. That's what that nigga does. Some have said that Gordy put off the Primettes because he already had a hot female group, the Marvelettes, and didn't want his company to be typecast. Richard Morris, however, thought the Primettes would be successful in the long run and was willing to take over their management to help them get the experience. He did this as a side job with Motown's permission. The teens had a contract with Jenkins that should have made it impossible for Morris to manage them. Okay, so this is so evident. This is something that I never paid attention to. We done read 1,000 Motown books. It's just so funny to me that in this Florence Ballard book, a lot of the subtle nuances are blaring at me now. Like when they signed on to be managed by Richard Morris with the permission of Motown, they were still signed to Milton Jenkins. Keep in mind, Milton Jenkins did have some things going on, because if I remember correctly, Milton Jenkins had himself a old stable of bitches too. You know, in the record industry, it wasn't nothing like finding you old willing participant to sell their vagina for you. Flo says in the book that it was poor taste. You also know that Milton and her sister Maxine got married. So for her to do that to her brother-in-law made her feel like, damn, how could I do something like that? She admits that she was young and ready for fame, and that was the driving force behind her making a decision that was uncaring. Look, I never realized that basically the Primettes carried Milton Jenkins. The Primettes' cavalier attitude about contracts worked to their advantage at this point. But it would certainly work to their disadvantage later when they realized, too late, that Motown took its contracts a lot more seriously.